Hello and welcome back again. Today's project that I'm looking at is a herb cutter kit, also known as a mezzaluna, or if it's made with one handle, an ulu, or at least that's my understanding of it. Now I'm going to show you the kit to start with, and the first thing that I'm going to tell you is please, when you use these kits or do anything with these kits, be very careful. They are seriously sharp. They will come in a cardboard sleeve like that to stop any damage, and they also come with two ferrules there, pretty standard ferrules to be honest. It's a stainless steel blade, that's it there. And just to demonstrate, this is one I've actually used this a couple of times, but this is a piece of A4 paper. It will slice through. It will slice through paper without any problem at all. I'm going to be very careful of my fingers here. I don't know whether the camera will pick that up. I'm watching my fingers. That's how sharp these are. So I hope I've made my point really sharp. Now, normally what I do with a kit is concentrate on the wood turning, and I'm going to do that a little bit later on, but I'm going to start off with an ulu. Now, we don't provide instructions for making an ulu, and here is one that I have made, and this is very much a prototype that I've made. All an ulu is basically a single-handled curved bladed knife, and that's what this is. But I did use a special tool for making this, and if you've seen my other videos, you'll know I'm not a huge advocate of buying special tools. But what I did actually do was buy one of these multi-tools. This is a DeWalt one. There are other ones on the market as well. And it's got that blade on it, if you can see that there, that little blade there, which oscillates backwards and forwards, and it cuts a slot into your piece of wood, which is what I've done there. I'm not sure if the camera will pick that up. As I said, this is a prototype. I haven't measured with the depth gauges the right depth, so it's all a little bit wonky. But I have to say, for a scrap bit of wood bunged together, and just I've just basically tapped the handle onto that. It works extremely well. My plan, having used the multi-tool to cut those little slots and tap that on, was to take this out and do the video using the kit I've already used. I can't get it out. I haven't glued it, I just can't get it out. The slots that it cuts in there are a little bit longer than the tangs of the kit, but I've tapped it on and it just will not move, and frankly it's not worth me risking my fingers to try and get it out. So I've left it as it is, but this will slice pretty much anything. We call this the digital age. Let's keep it that way. Please mind your fingers. I can't stress that enough. So that's what I've done with the ulu side. The herb cutter or mezzaluna, I will explain, is pretty much the same thing. A herb cutter is fairly obvious what it is. It's for chopping herbs. Mezzaluna is just an Italian name for it. Mezza means half and luna means moon. Basically, it's a half moon. Sort of, not quite half moon, but it's getting there. You can see where the name might come from. Anyway, that's enough about the ulu. Let's have a look at the turning and how to turn two small handles for these. They're pretty straightforward. The main skill that you've got here, of course, is doing two handles that are the same to go on either end. And the two-handled use of the kit will help you keep your fingers, because you've got both hands on the handle doing that, whereas with the ulu you've got one hand free to lose them. Anyway, let's crack on and I'll show you the wood and the turning and how we make them. As usual, we do have instructions or a guide on how to make these on the website. This is downloadable, or if you put a note on your order, we'll send one in the post to you. It doesn't really matter. We make them downloadable just to save paper, otherwise we'd put a piece of paper in every kit, and people that buy, you know, 6 or 10 kits, whatever, don't need 6 or 10 bits of paper to go in it. So that's the reason we do it that way. Anyway, I digress. The guide says a blank 40 by 40 by 60. This bit is a little bit bigger than that. I think it's about 50 by 50 by 60, this one, but at least that kind of size. And we now need to mark the centres of both ends. Having marked the centres, what I'm then going to do is drill a 6.5mm pilot hole at one end, and that's for the tang of the kit to go into. I'm going to do this twice, obviously, because we need two handles, and we're going to make like a little mushroom type handle, so it's kind of sort of flatter on the top, because the motion of this is really pushing up and down on the top of the knob rather than holding it like that. You can hold it like that, but it's easier to hold on the top, to be honest. So that's the design I plan at this stage anyway to do with this. So a 6.5mm hole at one end, nothing on the other end, but what we're actually going to do is turn this between centres, and we're going to turn roughly the shape we want. We're going to turn the little tenon for the ferrule, and then we'll take it off the lathe and actually mount where we've cut for the ferrule actually in a chuck, and the chuck can hold it because it doesn't matter if it marks that bit, because there's going to be a ferrule that goes over it, and then we can just take the little nib off the end and finish the whole thing. So I'm not going to show the drilling, but I'm now going to go and drill a 6.5mm hole in here. So here I've got my 6.5mm hole, and you'll see, again, I'm holding this quite carefully, that the blades, it will push in there. It's tight-ish. It needs to be glued in at the end. 6.5mm, you can try with the 6mm, you can try with the I wouldn't go any bigger than 6.5, I don't think. You can try with the 6mm. It very much depends on your wood. Every wood is different, and the condition of every wood is different. We can't allow for that, so we say 6.5mm is going to be around about the right size. Even if it's not that tight, and this isn't this tight, you can glue it. It'll glue in place, no problem at all. So having done that, I'm now going to mount it on the lathe between centres. I've got a dead centre up the headstock end and a live centre at the tailstock end. If you haven't got a dead centre, don't worry. If you've got a chuck, just make your own. Scrap one out of wood, it'll work just as well and save you £5, and you can do them whenever you like, instead of waiting for a delivery man to turn up with them. So I'll now point the camera at what I'm going to do on the lathe. So having turned the blank round and just levelled up the ends, the next thing I'm going to do is cut the tenon, and I'm going to cut it at this end here, and the guide says 14mm in diameter and 6mm long, so I'll measure 6mm in a moment. What I'm actually going to do is take the ferrule itself and actually just put the calipers in there, just in case there's any discrepancies in there, and it's actually 14.29mm on there, so that's going to get me the most accurate measurement. I'll hold that up there. We say 14mm on the guide. 14mm is fine. 14.29 will be absolutely spot on. And I'm then going to mark 6mm down here and cut the tenon for the ferrule for when the kit is finally fitted. Once I've done that, then I can look at shaping the rest of the blank to whatever shape I want to. So once you've got a shape that you're kind of happy with, and you've got your little nib on the end here, we can do a little bit of sanding on there and start to finish it before we take it off and mount it in the chuck. Don't worry if the tenon is too long here, you can always trim a little bit of that off, no problem at all. So there we go, there's one handle finished, and there's the tenon for the ferrule in there. As I say, if you get a little bit left over at the end, you can always sand it down. If that's too deep, and that actually does look fractionally too deep to me, oh no, it's okay, it does fit on there like so, that's fine. All this does is stop the wood splitting when the kit tang, which is the bit that sticks into the wood, goes into the wood. It just stops that splitting, so that'll fit in together like so, and that'll slot onto the kit. I said mushroom to start with, I think it's a bit more balloon shaped actually. I've trimmed this one down because in the instructions it says 40 mils. I started with a 50 mil blank, so I could have made it a bit wider, but the kit's only 130 mil long, so you don't want a massive handle at either end, otherwise they might start to touch and look a bit odd. And of course what remains now is to do another one exactly the same. He's hoping I've got one like this one. Yep, they might not be absolutely spot on, but they're not bad. So now all we need to do is assemble the kit. So for the assembly, we'll take our blade, we're going to pop it in a vise, preferably on a metal one, you don't want to mark the metal, and clamp that really quite tight. We'll then take our first knob, put the ferrule over, we'll put some, I would normally put 2-part epoxy down there, I've actually run out, but the show must go on, as they say. We'll slide that over there, and we'll basically just push that onto, push that onto the handle like so, until it reaches the bottom and the kit actually pushes the ferrule up onto the wood, and then we'll know we've got it in the right place. You may just have to gently tap it. There you go, that's in place. And exactly the same with the other one, don't forget the glue if you have it, and pop that on there. There we go, and there we have our herb cutter kit. So here we have our finished herb cutter, or mezzaluna, and as I showed you before, with a scrap bit of oak, I've made this ulu, same kit, just a different handle, single handle, and this block, it's quite a handy block to keep it in. I just cut that out on the bandsaw, and it actually holds it in there quite firmly. Great kits to make, huge amount of fun, not very expensive, 3 or 4 quid I think they are. They're definitely worth having a try. I hope that's been helpful. Thanks very much for joining me again. Whatever it is you do in your workshop, do enjoy it, and of course be careful. I'm off for a bit of hoovering up. See you next time. Bye bye for now.